On this Tuesday, March the 31st, 2026, the final day of a month that will go down in history, the atmosphere is still not finished. Thunderstorms and severe weather are ongoing across the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, and Mid-Atlantic today, with an SPC slight risk in effect. But the real story is what is loading behind this. A pipeline of storm systems stretching across the Pacific is about to deliver at least 3 major events through the first half of April, each one bringing severe weather, heavy rainfall, and significant snowfall. Wednesday shifts the severe threat to the southern plains with a slight risk already in place for Texas and Oklahoma that forecasters expect to be upgraded. Thursday escalates further as a super dynamic low brings potentially bad conditions across the plains and Midwest. Saturday looks very dynamic, with all the ingredients checked for widespread severe weather. And the temperature roller coaster that has defined March continues into April, with swings from 20 degrees above normal to 30 degrees below normal in a matter of days. The GFS model even shows 2 to 3 feet of snow possible in northern Maine in the extended outlook. This is what the first half of April looks like, and it is not for the faint of heart. Let me walk through all of it on this last day of March. By the way, if you'd like specific weather forecasts for your region or city, please leave them in the comments. I'll answer them individually as time allows. Also, if you like the video and subscribe to my channel, you'd be very grateful. Now, let's move on. First, a final look back at what March 2026 has delivered. This month will be studied by meteorologists for years. The blizzard of 2026 buried the Northeast under historic snowfall, with Providence shattering its all-time record at 37.9 inches, Fall River hitting 41 inches, and New York City recording its 9th biggest snowfall ever at 19.7 inches. Over 600,000 lost power, and damages reached $34 to $38 billion. The March 5th through 8th tornado outbreak produced over 20 tornado reports. An EF3 at Union City, Michigan, with 150-plus mile-per-hour winds, killed 8 people, injured more than 30, and knocked out power to over 100,000 homes. The March 10th outbreak made history with the first-ever SIG-2 hail risk and CAPE values exceeding 3,500 joules per kilogram, a number you do not expect even in May. 2 simultaneous enhanced risks were issued that day. The mid-March snow bomb delivered 2 to 4 feet of snow across the Great Lakes through near bombogenesis and lake enhancement. The clipper that preceded it knocked out power to 1.2 million homes. Hawaii suffered a flash flood emergency with over 13 inches of rain, the Waialua Dam coming within 6 feet of overflow, 5,000 evacuations, and the complete isolation of the town of Halewa. The Snohomish River in Washington state set an all-time record crest at 30.5 feet. The heat dome pushed Amarillo past 100 degrees and St. Louis hit 90, both record-breaking for March. Phoenix, Las Vegas, Sacramento, and San Jose all targeted all-time March temperature records, with the potential earliest 100-degree reading ever recorded in the desert Southwest. And through it all, the temperature roller coaster swung from 100-degree heat to below zero wind chills, sometimes within the same week. March 2026 has been extraordinary. Now here is what is happening right now. An SPC slight risk is in effect today for the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, and into portions of the Mid-Atlantic. 2 marginal risk areas and multiple general thunderstorm zones cover a broad area. Thunderstorms have been ongoing across the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and Northeast since last night. This is unusually northern for early-season severe weather. Typically, the first threats of the season focus on Texas, Oklahoma, and the Deep South before climbing northward as summer approaches. But 2026 has started the severe season well to the north, which is very unique. Here is the storm pipeline through the first half of April. Storm number 1 is today and tonight. The slight risk across the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley brings the threat of scattered severe weather with damaging winds, hail, and an isolated tornado risk. This clears out by Wednesday morning as the front pushes east. Tuesday night into Wednesday sees continued thunderstorms in similar areas before the pattern shifts south. Storm number 2 arrives Wednesday, April 1st, and escalates through Thursday, April 2nd. On Wednesday, the severe weather focus shifts to the southern plains. The SPC already has a slight risk for Texas and Oklahoma. A low-pressure system forming near Colorado looks super dynamic with a strong warm front and cold front setup. Cold air dives south while warm, humid air surges northward. All the ingredients for significant severe weather are present. Forecasters suspect this has a good chance of being upgraded from a slight risk to potentially an enhanced risk or higher as models come into better agreement on the mesoscale details. Wednesday night into Thursday looks particularly concerning. Thunderstorms fire across Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, and Arkansas. The SPC has a slight risk for Thursday as well, covering similar areas. Thursday's threat extends into the lower Midwest and deep south, with Texas and Oklahoma still seeing action. Meanwhile, heavy snowfall falls across the northern plains, upper Midwest, Great Lakes, and the Pacific Northwest. Wintry weather accompanies the cold side of each of these systems. Friday, April 3rd, sees activity picking right back up across the south-central states. Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, Arkansas, and Louisiana all deal with thunderstorms and potential severe weather. No rest. Storm number 3 arrives Saturday, April 4th, and this one looks very dynamic. A low develops with Arctic air diving in from the north, while warm, humid air surges northward on the other side. Every ingredient needed for widespread severe weather is checked. The plains, deep south, and Midwest are all involved. This system is a little more east-based than the previous ones. Sunday, April 5th, extends the threat along the Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, Northeast, the Appalachian region, and straight through the deep south. This line does not break up like some of the previous systems. It tracks all the way from the center of the nation to the eastern seaboard. Monday, April 6th, and Tuesday, April 7th, bring the storms to the east coast with colder air following behind. A snow threat develops for the mid-Atlantic and northeast about a week into April. Then the pattern warms quickly again. Around April 10th, a trough returns to the west, which pushes warm air back into the east. Almost immediately, more low pressure builds across the central Rockies and central plains. Gulf energy flows into the developing system. The jet stream shows an amped look for potentially a fourth major storm system. This one brings another severe weather threat for the plains and Midwest and continues the pipeline deep into the first half of April. The third and fourth storms are about 10 to 15 days out, so specifics will change, but the overall pattern signal of repeated major storm systems is remarkably consistent across model runs. The snowfall signal is impressive for this late in the season. The European model shows 1 to 2 feet of snow widespread across the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the upper peninsula of Michigan. Some accumulation for the mid-Atlantic and northeast as well. The GFS model is even more aggressive, pushing the snow further north through the northern plains, upper Midwest, and Great Lakes, and showing an extraordinary 2 to 3 feet of snow in northern Maine. Even the Smoky Mountains show up with some snow on one of the model runs. The Pacific Northwest, Cascades, Sierra Nevada, and Rockies continue to see heavy mountain snow measured in feet. The temperature pattern remains a violent roller coaster. Going into the first weekend of April, temperatures swing from 10 to 20 degrees above normal straight down to 10 to 30 degrees below normal in a matter of days. That cold lasts briefly before warmth surges back. Then another large, strong cold front develops and causes another flip. Multiple dramatic temperature reversals are expected through the first half of April, according to both major models. These extreme swings are the engine driving the repeated severe weather outbreaks and the snowfall events on the backsides of the systems. Now the special predictions by region for the next 2 weeks. For the southern plains, Wednesday shifts the bullseye your direction. The SPC slight risk for Texas and Oklahoma is expected to be upgraded. Dallas-Fort Worth, Oklahoma City, Wichita, Abilene, and the I-35 corridor face the first wave Wednesday and Thursday. Thunderstorms fire Wednesday night and continue Thursday across the same areas, plus Kansas, Missouri, and Arkansas. Friday sees renewed activity. The fire weather concerns from earlier in March have eased with recent moisture, but remain a factor during dry periods between storms. North Texas has been in the severe weather corridor for most of March, and that pattern continues. The heat dome that pushed Amarillo past 100 degrees has moderated, but temperatures between cold fronts remain well above normal. For the Midwest and Great Lakes, today's slight risk covers the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley. Storms continue tonight and into Wednesday morning before the focus shifts south. Thursday brings storms back to the Midwest as the second system pushes through. Saturday, April 4th, brings the most dynamic setup with the Plains, Midwest, and Great Lakes all involved. Chicago faces repeated rounds of storms through the first week of April. St. Louis continues its temperature roller coaster from the 80s to the 50s. Des Moines and Kansas City are squarely in the severe weather corridor for both the Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday systems. Springfield, Illinois, and Peoria remain in the target zone. Indianapolis sees storms today, again Thursday, and faces the most dynamic setup on Monday, April 6th, when the low parks directly overhead. Heavy snowfall on the backsides of these systems targets the northern plains, upper Midwest, and Great Lakes. The Euro shows 1 to 2 feet across the Dakotas through Wisconsin and Michigan. Minneapolis, Milwaukee, and Green Bay face more snow on top of what already fell during the mid-March snow bomb. For the Ohio Valley, today's slight risk is your primary concern. Columbus, Cincinnati, Dayton, Louisville, and Pittsburgh all see thunderstorms tonight and Wednesday morning. Thursday extends storms back into the region. Sunday, April 5th, brings the elongated severe threat along the Ohio Valley and Appalachian region. Monday, April 6th, features a true low-pressure center near Indiana and Ohio. The temperature swings here continue to be extreme, with potential readings in the 80s ahead of fronts crashing to the 40s or below. Power outages from the mid-March Clipper reached 352,000 in Ohio alone, and additional wind events are coming for the deep south and southeast. The severe weather threat extends into this region on Thursday as the system from the plains pushes east. Saturday through Monday brings the most significant threat, with the third storm enhancing severe weather from Texas through Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, and Kentucky. Memphis and Nashville face repeated rounds. Jackson, Mississippi, and the Ark-La-Tex region remain in the corridor. The drought in Florida and Georgia continues to improve slowly with some recent rainfall, but wildfire concerns persist. The late March pattern has brought some moisture to the southeast, but not enough for full drought recovery for the northeast and mid-Atlantic. Today's marginal risk extends into the mid-Atlantic. The Wednesday pattern shift moves the severe threat south, but thunderstorms continue in the region. Sunday, April 5th, extends the severe line all the way from the Ohio Valley and Appalachian region into the northeast. Monday and Tuesday bring storms to the east coast. A snow threat for the mid-Atlantic and northeast develops about a week into April as colder air returns. The GFS model shows extraordinary snow totals for northern Maine, with 2 to 3 feet possible. Boston and New York City have been stuck in below-average temperatures for much of March under trough-influenced weather. The ridge shifting east between storms brings brief warmth, but the northeast remains the coldest anomaly in the country. For the Pacific Northwest and West, systems continue rolling through with heavy mountain snow for the Cascades, Sierra Nevada, and Rockies. The heat dome has moderated across the desert southwest as the ridge shifts, but temperatures remain above normal. Colorado and the Four Corners continue accumulating beneficial snowfall. Washington and Oregon see continued rainfall at lower elevations and heavy mountain snow. Idaho and Montana see continued precipitation and wind events. For Canada, systems bring snow across British Columbia, Alberta, and Saskatchewan. The intense lows associated with these storms track near or north of the Great Lakes, with one GFS run placing a low near Toronto. Southern Ontario and Quebec face continued wintry weather. The bottom line on this final day of March 2026, the month ends as it began, with storms and extremes. Today brings severe weather to the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley. A pipeline of at least 3 major storm systems stretches through the first half of April. Severe weather threats reoccur every few days across the same corridors from Texas through the Mississippi Valley to the Great Lakes and beyond. The temperature roller coaster swings from well above normal to well below normal with each frontal passage. Significant late-season snow is on the table for the northern plains, upper Midwest, Great Lakes, and even northern Maine. March 2026 has been one for the record books with the blizzard of 2026, 2 tornado outbreaks including an EF3 that killed 8, the first ever SIG 2 hail risk, a snow bomb, a Hawaii disaster, all-time river records, and 100-degree March heat. And as we turn the calendar to April, the pattern only intensifies. Severe weather season is in full swing. Stay prepared and stay safe.